Hey, good evening, Top fans. It's Bill from TopFanRivalry here once again with just another fun-filled impact of favorite teams and best players all around. So I got Chris and Annie joining me tonight. They are actually co-hosts of a radio show called Sports Sunday on KOCI 101.5 in Orange County. So if you get a chance between 3 and 5, you got to listen into them. I've been a guest on their show, and they're a lot of fun. Annie loves who I think is some of the worst relief pitching of Dodger history. I'm sure she's going to bring this up to me at some point when we go around the horn and talk about favorite players. I'm pretty confident that when I was on their show, she was writing Chris a little note going, don't have this guy back. But hey, whatever, it's going to work out. I got my friends in the house, Annie and Chris. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. Good to be here.
No problem. No problem. So we're going to start out with the easy question first. Favorite team, Annie, go.
I'm a lifelong Los Angeles Dodgers fan. That's born and bred.
Did I hear that right? Did you say lifelong world champion Los Angeles Dodgers fan?
Correct. Yes.
I'm sorry. I hate to have to correct you after that Eric Gagne
no, that's
thing,
my bad. It still gets you got to get used to saying it after all these years, you know. It's still, you're a world champion, but sometimes like it still hasn't hit you yet at times. Sometimes I'm like going through the day. Then I remember I was like, oh yeah, we won the World Series last October, excuse me. Like,
yeah. Just as a side note, how happy were you when Josh Reddick got booed and then Tio Albert took him yard? I mean, how happy were you with that?
Honestly, anytime that man feels pain is just beautiful to me. I mean, that was just we talked about it on the show just this past week, but I mean, this Dodgers season, although they have a great record so far, the inconsistencies with offense have just been so aggravating for me at times. Like there's games we win, we lose 1-0, and then you've got games like Saturday night you win 22-1, and just I can't remember what this was. That was a 2-run home run, correct?
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're up 20-1, and then at this point they're just like, all right, let's just make it out of this inning, and just icing on the cake was another home run for Tio Albert. So which Chris and I even I don't want to say one of our regrets, not a right word, but one thing when the Dodgers signed Albert Pujols, Chris and I, it was the day, wasn't it the day we had a show when that happened?
It was
that day,
Sunday.
And Chris and I kind of went on, and I know I for sure took the stance where I said, oh, he's going to be a Chase Utley kind of guy. He's going to be that bench coach, the locker room guy, like the off the bench player, but he has shut me up for sure. And we're getting him for what? $400,000 a year.
Yeah. The Angels are paying him $25 million. We're getting him for 400 and change.
Honestly, best deal in major leagues right now, I got to say.
I tell you, he's raised his batting average 60 points since he's been with. I have a friend of mine who's a huge Angel fan, and I keep texting. I actually have two friends. I keep texting him and her separately. They both live in different states, and I just say, "Hey, so thanks for paying for Pujols, another home run. Thanks for paying for," because I'm that guy. Chris, favorite team?
Favorite team's the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's been as long as I could remember. I know it's boring. We're all going to be Dodger fans here, but no. Ever since I could remember, it's always been, when it was on KTLA, I was watching the Dodgers like back in just the Andre Ethier age, and Chad Billingsley was the ace, stuff like that. And then just growing up this whole decade, the pain and just the trials of it. And to finally, like you said, in 2020, win the World Series, it's just different. It just feels great.
Amen. I can remember. I'll take you guys further because I got you guys beaten age. There used to be a big box in LA. It was called On TV, and you switch this little knob on, and you'd get about 13 to 20 home games a season, which was a big deal back then. You didn't see home games because KTLA had the broadcast for the road, and so an On TV would have like movies on during the day, and then the Dodger game at night, and then the stuff that the kids weren't supposed to watch, but dad was going to watch after the game. And so you had to switch. I had to make sure that I switched that thing off before, because my dad wouldn't appreciate that much. All right. So Chris, tell me, how did you become a Dodger fan? You say you're a lifelong Dodger fan. Did you have an experience with the Dodgers? Tell me.
Yeah, so obviously I knew of the Dodgers and was a quote unquote fan for a little bit, but I think there is one moment that solidified my fandom, and it's in the most Dodger way possible. So my dad on the 50th anniversary of Dodger Stadium. It was 2012 opening series against the Pirates. Took me in left field pavilion, just in the heat of it, day game, and just to hear the fans heckling Andrew McCutchen, who was an MVP player back then. And I was just taking it all and had my first Dodger dog and got some memorabilia. So I think that opening day game that I went to, and then Dodgers actually won. Kenley Jansen got the save. I think that was like his early days too. So I was there pretty early. And like I said, I think that really solidified me as a Dodger fan for life.
Love it. Annie, same question.
Oof. All right. So I was born and raised in San Diego, so enemy territory, which is the question I get all the time is, how did you become a Dodgers fan growing up in San Diego? And long story short, my dad is born and raised on Long Island, grew up a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, went to Ebbets Field, is a Dodger history book. He remembers everything. It's still shocking to me to this day, but he he entered the military. He's a Marine, and he and my mom ended up being stationed out in Camp Pendleton, just north of San Diego, and had my brothers. And growing up, he raised us all to be Dodger fans. But when I really took an interest, and this was kind of my love of sports and how I began my career working in sports, was the 2004 Dodgers was the team that I really just fell in love with. I mean, Adrian Beltre, Sean Green, adding Steve Finley, the Eric Gagne era as well. But just that whole, I mean, as a 12-year-old, I could name that 40-man roster perfectly. I just fell in love with the sport at that point. And I have a great relationship with my dad, and that he really embraced that and supported it, took me to Dodger Stadium. We went to opening day the following year, 2005, when the Dodgers beat the Giants with a walk-off hit by Milton Bradley. And it's been love ever since. They're the team I say, they're the team I love more than any other team in sports. So no regrets. There's definitely been a rough, well, let's see, back in 2002, it's been 17, 18 years now. I can't count. But it's been a lot of ups and downs, but wouldn't trade it for the world. I could not see myself rooting for any other team.
So Sean Green, I played against Sean Green in high school.
He was my first Dodgers jersey. I still have it in my closet.
So Sean and I used to be in business with the guy that played AAA baseball as well. And he and Sean knew each other a little bit. And I was flying home from a funeral in Chicago, of all places. And he was playing for the Diamondbacks at this time. And they were playing Atlanta. And back then I didn't fly nearly as much as I do now. So I didn't know how to book a flight. I mean, online wasn't a huge thing. You called up and it was an unexpected death. And so whatever. So I had to take that direct route from Chicago to Atlanta to Orange County. Right. Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in the terminal and Sean's sitting there. Like, what are you? And the Braves, it was a Sunday afternoon and the Braves had just completed a series with the Diamondbacks. I said, Sean, and he goes, yeah. And I remembered him because he's on TV, right? He didn't remember me so much. And I told him, where I played and everything. And he's, oh yeah. Okay. And I told him about some mutual friends. I said, what are you doing here? Why didn't you fly in the team charter? And he says, oh, I'm going to fly to LA actually to see some friends. And then we have Monday off. And so then I'll just fly Monday night. And in true Atlanta fashion, we went into one of those thunderstorms where we got out on the tarmac and it just started pelting and we stayed on the tarmac for like 35 minutes. And we're just sitting there and they had to turn the plane off and the AC off. And so it's the middle of summertime and we're just getting pelted. And I walked up to first class where Sean was at and I said, I bet you wish you would have flown home with the team. And he looks at me and he goes,
perfect. Super pissed off.
Perfect response.
Perfect, Sean. That's awesome. All right. So we're all Dodger fans. Everybody on Top Fan knows that I've been a Dodger fan since birth. I can actually remember going to the Freeway Series back when Reggie Jackson was playing for the Angels in 83, 84, 85 at Dodger Stadium. And I was recently going through some pictures that my wife and I were doing some summer cleaning, and I found a bunch of pictures with Mark Cressy and other Dodgers when they did baseball camps and stuff like that. So, I mean, I can remember it going back all the way to 83, 84, which is great. And I'm actually playing with a ball that I got at Dodger Stadium. This is Rich Hill. So I'm sitting about 4 rows back from that little dugout, like that dugout club area behind, just off from the third base dugout. They have the 2 or 3 rows.
Yeah.
And this kid is sitting in that dugout club and he goes, "Mr. Hill, throw me a ball." And Rich is playing catch. And so Rich just come off the IL and he threw this kid a ball. He overshot this poor 10-year-old by about 10 rows. And I was just standing there and the ball bounced in front of me and I picked it up. I go to give it to the kid and Rich had already walked over and give the kid the other one. I'm like, "Dude, you didn't even come close. Like, you missed this guy by like 15 rows."
I was gonna say, why'd you have to rip it out of the kid's hands? Like, you don't have to lie to us.
No. He walked over it. He realized he didn't see me walking up to the kid because it bounced up and I was just like, all right. And so, yeah, this is a Rich Hill original. So there we go.
Sweet.
All right. So being Dodger fans, we have a lot to cheer for. We have a lot of rough goes. We've had a lot of rough goes.
Right.
We went through the Manny Wood era, right?
God bless. I mean,
yeah.
Well, that's why I think so many people give Dodger fans a hard time and say we're spoiled and we're like the Yankees of the West Coast. Meanwhile, they don't remember that we were a part of the Frank McCourt era and how awful that was being a baseball fan then, where they just didn't want to spend money on free agents, going out and getting Manny, which at the time I was so excited about. And it's one of those things where, like on Facebook where you get those memories. Chris, do you even have Facebook? Is that
No, I do not have a Facebook account. For my time.
Don't do a Facebook account. Don't do it. But you get the memories that like remind you what you were posting like 10 years, 11 years ago. And I get the day that Manny re-signed and, did the "I'm back" at spring training. I tweeted, I was so excited. And every year I repost it just to humble myself. I'm like, oh, this could have ended a little better, but I tried to talk my dad into doing the dreadlocks that they were selling at Dodger Stadium for a Christmas card. And he didn't buy into it.
He didn't do it.
But it was, well, remember, what was it? It was Manny bobblehead night. And he didn't hit a grand slam, but he hit some huge hit. But, we had great moments with Manny Ramirez. I try not to rag on Manny Wood too much, but it's funny how things age.
So there's times from when between the time that you mentioned, Annie, and the time that Chris mentioned, there's a lot of good Dodger memories that people don't talk about. So the Steve Finley home run to knock the Giants out of the playoffs to put us in the playoffs.
Yes.
Manny Wood, the Sean Green 3 home runs in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Right. And that was right around, I think it was Yom Kippur, something like that, where they were giving him a hard time about taking the day off.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, if that's your religion, do it. I say do it. And there's been a lot of fun. There's also been a lot of miscues. If you guys can remember Carlos Perez beating up the cooler in the dugout. Milton Bradley, and I don't know if it's still there, but up to about 3 years ago, the MLB has the locker room rules posted in every locker room when you walk in. And a buddy of mine did a Dodger tour one time and went through the Dodger locker room, and they were in a glass case, and it was obvious that it had been smashed by either a ball or bat, and then it was just splintered off from there. And apparently, rumor has it that Milton Bradley, after he went 0 for 4 one night, took a bat to it and broke it. And the Dodgers just kept it up for showing you, do not act like this.
That is the least surprising thing I've ever heard in my life regarding Milton Bradley. That would not shock me.
Milton Bradley, but we've had some great guys. Yeah, Eric Karros. He's been fun. And so there's been a lot of great Dodger memories. And so, which leads me to this. So let's talk about our Dodger greats. So if you were going to go position by position, okay, and there's no wrong answer to this. We did this with our Yankee fan. We did this with our Oriole fan. Believe it or not, there's a lot of Orioles that I didn't think about that were actually Dodgers too, like Rick Dempsey and Eddie Murray, that were great Oriole guys. But let's go position by position. Annie, I'm going to let you start off, and we're going to start at first base. We'll talk about the battery in a second, but if you were going to bring up your best first baseman of all Dodger time, and it can be any time, who are we choosing?
I'm tied between, and this is my, I always, whenever we do like Dodger greats, I'm thinking my dad's like on my shoulder, like being like, you know who you need to say, you know who you need.
Your
Don't
dad's
you
gonna
dare
watch
mess this up,
what?
Annie. I didn't train you for this for nothing. I mean, first thought, Steve Garvey's got to be up there.
Okay.
My dad talks a lot about Gil Hodges too. Can I do two?
Sure.
Yeah. I would do either Steve Garvey or Gil Hodges in there.
Okay. I love that answer. Chris, what do you think?
I thought this was an obvious answer, but I guess not, because Annie didn't even mention it. But I got to go Duke Snyder. It has like top 5 player in Dodger history, like center of the team back in Brooklyn, just super big power hitter. I think it's a no-brainer, Duke Snyder.
Okay, Duke Snyder. And see, Annie, I actually agree with you. My favorite Dodger player of all time is Steve Garvey.
Okay.
And so as far back as T-ball in 1982, I was on the Dodgers. Back then, they just gave us T-shirts. But I begged my dad, I'm like, if there's a number on it, I want number 6.
Aww.
And so, but back in those days when you played Little League, it was like 1 through 12, right? And the taller you were, the larger number you got. And so
that's usually how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. By the time I was 12 years old, I was like 5'7". I've grown 2 inches since I was 12. But I was tall back then, so I was always wearing either 10, 11, or 12. I could never wear 6 because I just rip it. All right. So I love it. I love Duke Snyder. I love Gil Hodges. I love Steve Garvey. Go, Chris, you start second base.
Second base. Okay. I have one on. Okay. No, I'll go Jackie Robinson second base. I think that's where he belongs. I would like save him for the outfield, maybe put Davey Lopes at second base, but I don't think there's too much to say. Like Jackie Robinson second base could do a little bit of everything. And I would want him on my team at second base.
Okay. Annie?
Jackie was mine for sure.
Jack Roosevelt Robinson. I totally agree with you guys. That guy's the man. Davey Lopes was great, but come on. You got Jackie Robinson. Come on. All right, Annie, shortstop.
I know people are, I've heard a lot of controversial takes about how maybe he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame just given the time. That actually someone, I think I made that take on our show, but gotta go Pee-wee. That's going to be my shortstop.
I love it. You guys are awesome. Okay. Who's your shortstop, Chris?
I don't want to like have too much recency bias, but I don't see why not Corey Seager. I just don't see it. Like I would want him over anyone else. Great swing, one of the best swings of this current Dodger team. And I think obviously a small sample size compared to Dodger greats, but if we see what we've seen out of Corey Seager the next decade, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So I say Corey Seager confidently.
And see, you make a great case, but I agree with Annie. And I'll tell you why. Pee Wee Reese. And some people might say Bill Russell. Whatever.
I
right?
thought
He was
about
part
Bill,
of that
yeah.
infield, but whatever. Pee Wee did it for so many years. If Corey can do it, like you just said, if Corey can do it for another dozen, half dozen, 10, 12 years, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, no questions asked. I just don't know that we have a big enough sample size. Last year was great, but we've had a lot of injuries, and it's not his fault that he's on the IL, but he's missed a third of the season this season.
True.
Right. Mm-hmm. And getting hit on the top of the hand, I'll tell you what, you want to get hit. Chris, you'd rather get hit with a fastball in a place that God only intended on being treated nicely than being hit on the top of your hand. I guarantee you. Because that's going to recover down south. Top of your hand is going to take a while, and you're going to be so nervous to grip that bat. Oh my gosh. So nervous. I
agree. There is some mental game to that. And I've played baseball, and obviously, hands probably the worst, fingers even more so, just they're so fragile, but I'm willing to take the risk for this sake.
Okay, good. Okay, Chris, lead us off, third base.
Oh my God. Why do I not have any good? I don't want to be that guy right now, but Justin Turner, like, I don't want to hit with the recents, but man, I just think when you think about chemistry and then also his play on the field, I'll take a prime Justin Turner over a lot of guys in Dodger history, honestly. And I'm very high on Justin Turner, even on our radio show as well. I think that his mindset at the plate is better than anyone I've seen, really. And so I will be that guy for now and take 2 current in a row, but Justin Turner at third base.
Okay, Annie.
I'm going to have a little bias here because this is probably the first third baseman as me as a baseball fan. I don't want to say fell in love with. It wasn't that deep, but first one that I had a connection with, I got to go with Adrian Beltre. He was, for me as a Dodger fan, he's the one that got away. It pained me seeing him walk away so early on. I've loved having him as a Dodger. So I'm going to go Adrian Beltre.
And I see that. I see Adrian Beltre. People remember him as a Texan, or I mean, as a Ranger.
Right.
And him and Elvis Andrews playing jokes on each other. I love that. Some Dodgers would say Ron Say, because again, he was part of that outfield.
My dad's a big Ron Say guy. Yeah.
Some may say Pedro Guerrero, right? I'm actually going to go and agree with Chris. JT, I had just posted this on the site recently where I said my favorite active player was JT. And there's something about a dude that just comes in to play the game. And he doesn't care. Like, he tripped over third base in San Diego earlier this season, and he got up and he laughed about it. Like, it's just stuff like that you just love to see. And yeah, so if I've got to go with a Dodger great at third base, I'm going to go with JT. That's probably almost like a man crush thing, but and Adrian Beltre may have been a better Dodger, but in history, we haven't always been strong at third base. We had a lot of years there where we had the revolving third baseman where you didn't know who was going to play there any given night. Now you know that number 10 is going to be out there every day. So
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so Annie, this is going to get tough here. Okay, but give me 3 of the best Dodger outfielders. Okay, and this is where it gets dicey because
it is.
I mean, not fan favorites, not who do you think would make the best on the field presence?
Okay. I'm going I remember Duke Snider as a center fielder. So I'm going Duke Snider in the outfield. That's how my dad told stories of him. So Duke Snider's out there for me in center field, left field.
Doesn't have to be center left. You can just say 3.
I'm an organized person. I need to do
that. Well, sorry. Chris, you got to warn me about this, brother, before you step into into the ditch there. Come on.
I want to I feel like you got to put Kirk out there. So I'll throw him in right field. And who do I want in left? Oof. I could go no, I won't go now. Dusty played left, didn't he?
Dusty did play left.
Dusty Baker.
Dusty did play left. Yep.
I don't know if he's the best though. Oh, no, this is hard. This is hard. Okay. I can't decide. This is
Chris
hard.
is back there going, don't worry, I don't got an answer.
I got Gary Sheffield played left too.
Jason
Worth. Yeah, we're not putting Jock there. No. Love him, but no. Actually, I'm gonna end this now. We'll put Dusty out there.
Dusty, good. Hey, listen, that's an honorable choice, right?
I'm comfortable with that outfield. I'm good with that outfield.
He definitely was a guy that made it happen when he was out there. Chris, what do you think?
Okay, so I have a pretty good list going here. I think one guy, obviously we all know him, it really changed the chemistry of the Dodgers organization and really was a spark plug for a very long time until he got traded, had some injury problems. But I think Matt Kemp definitely deserves a spot in our outfield. Prime Matt Kemp, one home run shy of 40-40 club, generational talent, was the best at everything at one point. Dated Rihanna, so you got to have respect on his name. For sure, he's in my outfield.
Dated Rihanna.
That's like the biggest
that's
accolade
not
of all
something we want to
time.
mention because
That's a Rihanna curse. He had a bad year the year he dated Rihanna.
Yeah, there's two names that you don't mention in Dodger history: Rihanna and Alyssa Milano, because both of those girls like destroy. Alyssa Milano dumps Russell Martin for Brad Penny, pitcher catcher. I mean, come on.
Okay. So. Anyway, yeah, Matt Kemp is in there, and then I do see the case for Kirk. Obviously, willed us to a ring at one point, but if I'm looking for a season-long team and like an all-time great, God, Sean Green in the outfield, good bat. I like that there, and then I gotta squeeze one more in of all the great guys in Dodger history. Andre Ethiers not as enticing for me. Puig, kind of same thing, is like a fringe, but definitely not all time. Man, one more spot. Yeah, I would say a Gary Sheffield. Just if we're thinking of like a player in their prime, maybe not their tenure with the Dodgers, but you got to go with the 500 club guy, Gary Sheffield.
Okay, I like that. It's I have a good buddy of mine who he and I argue all the time. Not argue, but we debate. During Hall of Fame, when Hall of Fame election is, and we call things like the Hall of Very Good. So Adrian Gonzalez at first base, Hall of Very Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Andre Ethier, Hall of Very Good. Even guys like Sean Green, Gary Sheffield, Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. If I've got to make an outfield, and I'm going to go old school and listen, Kirk Gibson, very good. Pedro Guerrero, very good. Dusty Baker, very good. Andre Ethier, very good. Sean Green, very good. Gary, I swear I didn't take steroids. Sheffield, very good. All these guys are really good. I'm going to go with an old school outfield. I'm going to go with Duke Snyder. I'm going to go with Zach Buckwheat, old school, and either Carl Furillo or Willie Davis. Willie Davis had some wheels. And so if I'm looking to build an outfield, now, please don't get me wrong. Cody Bellinger, if he can stay healthy and get back to his old form, he'll be one of the best Dodger greats. Mookie Betts, if he plays the rest of his career with the Dodgers, he may be one of those. But right now, I'm going old school guys that proved it day in and day out. And Willie Davis was a terror on the base paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Chris, I'm going to let you pick 3 starters, and then Annie, I'm going to have after he picks his 3 starters, you start thinking about your 2 best Dodger relievers.
Okay.
So Chris, 3 starters.
This is a non-negotiable for me. I don't think anyone should disagree, but I don't think any pitcher in their prime was better than Sandy Koufax was. So he has to be in your rotation. I don't care what people have to say about the length of his career. When he was on the mound, he was the best in the game. And it was just eye-popping stats. Obviously, the perfect games, the no-hitters, everything came together. It was unbeatable at home. Koufax, number 1 for me. And then my number 2 guy, second greatest pitcher in Dodger history, Clayton Kershaw. Growing up with him, seeing how great he was, how much pressure he was able to sustain, how much like Don Mattingly used him so recklessly. Looking back in the day, and it's unbelievable. So I just have to have that respect for Clayton Kershaw and have him in my rotation. The third one is hard because you think about Drysdale and you think about Venezuela. Man, I would have to go with Drysdale. It's not close, or it is close. It's super close, but I'll take him over the many great pitching names in Dodger history.
Yeah, that's a tough category, especially if you only got 3. Kenny,
I get 2 relievers or 3?
So start out with your 3 starters.
Oh, I thought you said okay.
Yeah, and then you can go with relievers.
Reliever, I mean, I'm pretty much almost the same as Chris. I've got Koufax, I got Kershaw, and then I'm throwing Hershiser in at 3.
Ooh, nice move.
Mhm.
Nice move. See, and I'm gonna go just the other direction. I'm gonna go Koufax, Kershaw, and Valenzuela for what Fernando did, not at the end of his Dodger era, but 81, 82, 83. He was the premier pitcher. And so again, a number of greats, right? Hershiser in there, Trisdale in there, Johnny Padres, right?
Right.
The guy that helped us win the 55 World Series that claims he was semi-drunk that day. And so God bless him, whatever, right? But the Dodgers are built on pitching. The team just south of them that claims Los Angeles as well. If we said, best 3 pitchers, we'd sit there and go, I think this guy one time played for them for a half a season, it's not impressive. All right, Annie, 2 solid relievers. You got to close the game out, or you got to hand the ball to somebody to wrap up something. Who are you wrapping up with? And I know Eric Gagne is on here, so I'm just gonna accept the
Eric
fact.
Gagne is on here, absolutely.
Okay.
But I feel it would be a disservice and just dishonest for me to not put our guy Kenley in somewhere in this top 2. This season alone, I think he's redeemed himself and struggles in the most recent years, but really dominant, one of the best Dodger relievers of all time. So he deserves to be up here. And Eric Gagne is not far behind for me. And honorable mention, my dad tells me stories of Jim Brewer back in 60s, 70s era, talks about those old games. So I'm going to he's an honorable mention right at 3 for me, but I got to go with the 2 relievers that I have seen in person with Kenley and Gagne.
Okay. I like it. So you can't debate those certain ones, although we can talk about what we talked about in the radio show another time. But Chris, go ahead.
I'm in a good mood right now. Let's not do it. I don't want to hear you call Eric Gagne the worst reliever in Dodgers history. I'm not in the mood to hear it.
There you go. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, for me, it's a very short list to choose from regardless, but kind of same as Annie, you got to go with Kenley Jansen, franchise leader in saves, has done it for over a decade or close to a decade now. And I think the consistency is there. As much as we like to rag on Kenley Jansen, we are super spoiled when it comes to who we have to choose as our closer, because he's been there for quite a long time. And I think he deserves that respect to be known as the best Dodger reliever of all time. Number 2 is hard. Like I have trouble with this because obviously I'm a younger fan compared to you guys. So I didn't grow up with Gagne. Obviously I could look up Baseball Reference and say, oh yeah, he was definitely the second greatest, but sure, I'll take the safe bet and say Gagne. I haven't lived through many relievers, and like the only closer I know has been like Javi Guerra and Kenley Jansen. So I'll play it safe and say Eric Gagne for my number 2.
You were not conscious for Jonathan Broxton, right?
I knew, like, I played like MLB The Show when Broxton was the closer, but no, I wasn't like, I didn't cry when he would blow saves. No.
I'm happy you have that.
Yeah.
You have that peace of mind.
Jonathan Broxton was supposed to take over for Gagne and fell very, very short of that. This to me is an interesting thought pattern. And so I'm going to take you first to say Kenley Jansen. Okay. Now, Eric Gagne, I like him. I don't like it when people stretch the rules. One of the people that would have made the list had he not got caught, literally you can find this on YouTube or anywhere. Jay Howell was a very dominant pitcher for the Dodgers in the 80s, reliever. And in Shea, I believe it was, the umpires were going to check him, and he literally threw an emery board out of his back pocket that he was filing the ball down with, like on the mound. And after that, yeah. But if you talk to your dad, he'll tell you Jim Brewer, which I agree that's a great honorable mention. For me, as an impressionable kid in the 80s, I'm going to say Steve Howe. High as a kite. And listen, that's fine. But that dude can pitch, and And Chris, this was kind of before saving games and being a closer was popular. Like it wasn't really a huge stat, but Steve Howe would come in and just shut it down. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. All right. Give me 45 seconds. Chris, I'm going to start with you, and then Annie, I'm going to go to you. Give me 45 seconds as we wrap up. What do you think the Dodgers need to do in the second half of the season or what are you hoping to see, or what would you like to see them change, or whatever? Take 45 seconds to a minute. Tell me what the second half of the season looks like for you guys.
Okay, so we have a laundry list going on now. I think we've had a lot of injuries, and then like Annie said, the offense has been kind of inconsistent. So what I'm looking for in the second half is a reliever and a starter to step up and really eat innings, because there's 81 games to go, right? We're halfway through. We need someone to eat those innings, and it's been the Julio Urias right now. It's been a younger guy we're reaching uncharted territory with how many innings he's pitched. So I think that a reliever, maybe a Josiah Gray that gets called up here, someone needs to eat innings, and then come playoff time, we need our leverage reliever who's going to take those 3 innings of crunch time and eat those up and get it to Kenley Jansen and Blake Trinan. So I think that it all comes down to pitching in baseball in the end, and that's what wins World Series. So second half, we need guys to get quality innings. The young guys, the Mike Clevengers, Josh Schwarbs, Mitch White, those guys need to step up and come through in clutch situations.
Love it. Love it. Annie.
It's tough to put, I mean, like Chris said, there's a laundry list of things, but I still believe that on paper, this Dodgers team is the best in Major League Baseball. I will believe that. I will go to I will argue that till my last breath during the day. And I just think like this team has the potential. That's one of the most frustrating things as a fan is when these guys can get quality runs. We have a great pitching rotation, and it's just been inconsistent all while having a winning record, but you still have those frustrating games. So what I'm looking for, one, guys to get healthy. We're expecting a Corey Seager back sometime this month. I don't know. I think Dave was teasing it was going to be next week or sometime and late July, hopefully. Would rather him if he needs a little bit more time, happy to wait for him to have a full recovery, but get guys healthy, get out, add another pitcher. We've lost Bauer, get another pitcher in the rotation if we can at the trade deadline, bolster up for the playoffs, because this team's going to the postseason. There's no doubt about that. But just showing up every day and ready to play. And I understand that it's tough. It's a long season, especially after having a shortened season last year. You got to play a full season, but showing up every day to the ballpark and saying, hey, we're playing postseason baseball right now. Let's go have a run. Because I believe, and in any sport, honestly, the teams that start playing for a play on the line, play like every game counts early on, they have a lot of success in the playoffs in the postseason. So the Dodgers need to start doing that. The NL West is tight right now, and I think it's going to be tight not till the very end, but pretty damn close. So yeah. They got to start playing with that intensity. Like they need to repeat, because they do. They've got, get rid of the narrative of the Mickey Mouse ring, the shortened season, prove to all the haters that this team is the best and they're capable of winning in a 162 game season.
Amen. Amen. I love it. The only thing that I would wish that Dave would do a little bit more, and the only thing that I'm really looking for the Dodgers to do, is learn how to go back to playing little ball. Everybody is about swinging for the fences. There is nothing wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Mookie Betts hitting a double, right? And looking at whoever's batting number 2 right now, it's been Max, so that's tough to do. But if you have a guy like Corey, there's nothing wrong with having Corey butt him over to third, and then you've got Max and JT behind him. There's nothing wrong, or Chris Taylor butting him over. Chris Taylor's having the season of his life, and I just so I just wish we would play more little ball. It drives me nuts when we don't play little ball. So, but
Taylor's oldest time for Dodgers. I mean, how many runners have been left on base so far this season? How many runners in scoring position? How many times have the bases been loaded and somebody strikes out swinging? I feel like that's been the narrative since I started being a Dodgers fan. I say that knowing it's not an easy thing to do, but I completely agree. Like, even a simple single, you grab a run or 2 in. I completely agree.
Yeah. And so baseball just needs to be consistent. And so we are we have 7 of 15 games, I believe it is, coming out of the break with the Giants. And then we've got some games with Colorado. In fact, we open up with Colorado, so half the boys can just stay where they're at, right?
Yeah.
And take an extra day off, But we need to go on another run where we win 13 out of 15, and some of those need to be against the Giants. And so we'll just see how it works out. But all right, Top fans, this has been fun. We talked Dodger baseball. This is lively. I love it. Annie, Chris, I appreciate you joining me. Please come back. Okay, let's do this before the end of the season again. We'll do maybe a post-game preview. Like Annie said, the boys in blue will be back in the playoffs. It's a foregone, conclusion. I shouldn't say that, but
Hey, like Chris knows. I believe in speaking things into existence.
There you
So you gotta start thinking of that that playoff mentality now. So no problem with that.
We're not the Pirates. We're not the Diamondbacks.
Exactly.
Top fans, by all means, make comments below. Feel free to subscribe, and we will have Chris and Annie back on again soon. I appreciate your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You bet.